Do you hear that, by the way? Do you hear the Android people laughing at us? Hello and welcome to Basic AF. Tom Anderson, Jeff Battersby, back together again on the biggest day of the year for Apple nerds.
That's us.
That's us, and that's you if you're listening. So welcome to another episode. We're recording a little bit of an unusual time for us here on a Monday evening. But
8 p.m.
8 p.m. It's almost my bedtime, but we'll get through it. It's the day of the WWDC keynote. We're going to get into that in just a couple of seconds here. But Jeff, welcome. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too, Tom. And it was nice to sit and chat with you via text as we watched WWDC. Got that right this time. I want to point that out. I said WWC, like we're some wrestling thing in the last episode. WWDC. And some fun stuff, some really good things. So excited to get started. It took Apple an hour and 45 minutes, and man, it was like stepping into a stock car.
It was moving.
It flew. So we're going to try to keep it to less than an hour and 45 minutes.
Well, it'll definitely be less than that. But yeah, hour, I'm hoping, if not
or less. Or less. We're going to aim for an hour.
I'm going to try to move quick.
Yes.
But do want to say real quick, if you have not yet, we would love it.
If you have not liked us and subscribed on your podcast platform, please do so.
Yes.
We're seeing bumps in our numbers, which is really good, both in the number of people that are listening all the way through. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. And also in growth in numbers. We're not in Rogan territory yet, but coming. About 30 years.
Yeah. Well, it helps to have great guests, which we have had in the last month and a half. We've had some great guests, and we thank them again. Chris Freitag and Riley Hill. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we're really grateful. And if you haven't followed those guys on their various platforms, both on YouTube, you should. Really good stuff. And always, as always, you can get us at feedback@basicafshow.com. And also a reminder that you can text us directly from your podcast app.
Yes.
You'll look in the show notes. If you got a question, you want to tell us that we look worse in real life than our artwork, which would be correct. We get a little makeup in the artwork, right?
Yes.
You can send us a message there. We cannot reply directly back to you, but if you put an email address in there, we'd be happy to do that. We will not spam you. We'd be more than happy though to respond to whatever it is that you say, including that we look like idiots.
Yep. And if you could do me a favor, go to tomfanderson.com. Hit that subscribe button. Put your email address in first. And that'll sign you up for the newsletters. A lot going on, so it's a good way to keep tabs on things. I know everybody's busy, so try to make those informational and help out. So would appreciate that if you're interested. So
yeah, and Tom's newsletter is great.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, you bet.
And I didn't even pay you to say that. I know you do.
You pay me by showing up.
Well, jeez.
Right.
All right.
Same as I pay you.
There is a stacked agenda for our discussion. We will go basically in the same order that the keynote went today. Yep. So we'll just jump right into it. A couple of quick things that they talked on, or one in particular. Tim Cook mentioned over 1 billion users of Apple products or devices around the world. So that's a huge audience, and we'll dig into that once we get a little further down into some of the discussion.
We love a small portion of that.
Yeah. Well, we have a small portion of that, but we'd like a little bigger portion. Talked about Apple TV Plus a little bit, with some new shows coming out, new originals each and every week. Talked about some of the awards and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I will say Apple's the stuff that they're producing, pretty brilliant. If you haven't seen what they're producing, you should. Killers of the Flower Moon, just finished watching that again for myself the other night. Phenomenal work. Martin Scorsese. That's an Apple TV movie. So there's really good quality stuff on that platform. And probably, in my mind, to my mind, some of the best.
There you go. Anything else for Apple TV Plus? I think it was about it. It's just a quick little update.
That's it. They were
Yep.
We're selling what they're selling.
Right. That's what they do. Okay. So in terms of operating systems, they jumped into it with visionOS 2.0 coming up. They said 2,000 apps native for the platform at this point, 1.5 million if you include the iPad compatible apps that work on it as well. Jeff had a snide comment before we started to record on that. Well,
I won't say that here. Don't be out me.
But a couple of things that they're going to be adding to that that are new in visionOS 2. Photos gets a little bit of love there. You can take your existing 2D photos and create spatial photos from them, which will be interesting to see how well that works. SharePlay added to that to the Photos app as well. Navigation, a couple of quick little gestures, new ones. So one of the things that's been kind of not awkward, but just didn't really seem optimized was to get back to the home screen on visionOS, like the wall of apps. You had to reach up and press the button. Won't have to do that anymore. You can do that with the gesture going forward, and you can access Control Center with the gesture too, which would be nice because it's kind of awkward too. You have to look way up to see that sometimes. So nice little touches there. Really the thing that I was most interested in on the stuff that they showed today for it was the enhancements to the Mac Virtual Display. That's one of the things I use the most when it works. And higher display resolution, including an ultra-wide display, which looks nice. And they say 2 4K monitors side by side. I like or the equivalent of that. And I kind of like how they handled it where they didn't just put up a second screen next to it. They kind of just made one big screen, which was cool. So hopefully that will work well. Train support was added to travel mode. Previously, it had just been airplanes. And of course, they've added some new APIs, which is good to see. I mean, they haven't completely given up on it yet, which I don't think they will for a while if they do. We'll see how things go with the cheaper stuff if it ever comes. Let's see. Canon's got a new spatial lens coming out for the R7.
Yeah, which I thought was pretty slick. I liked that. It was something for you to be able to take spatial photos and I presume videos.
Right.
So pretty slick lens. I liked that.
Yeah, that looked good. And they've got workflow set up where you can take that footage, edit it on Final Cut Pro on your Mac. There's a Vimeo app on Vision Pro where you could view it inside of that. Something that they mentioned really quickly was they have their first immersive short film coming.
Yes.
So that'll be cool to kind of see that because one of the biggest complaints to date is there's just not very much immersive content. And they're slowly putting it out. I do see they've got a new environment for Bora Bora. I don't know if the coming soon environments that have been coming soon since February are coming sooner than that one will be, but we'll see. But really kind of the bigger news of it is Vision Pro will be available in 8 new countries starting in the next month, some in June, and then a few more in July with a total of 8. So that will open up the market a little bit for that.
Yeah, mouse support coming, which is a thing that I don't think exists presently, does it?
No, you can only use the trackpad.
Yeah. So mouse support coming. And also it can become an AirPlay receiver, which is kind of interesting as well. Anything here that intrigues you, Tom? I know we probably need to revisit your Vision Pro experience or lack thereof in an upcoming episode. But is there anything there that is particularly intriguing?
So they mentioned rearrangeable home view, which has been something that would be nice because as you add apps, what happens is you couldn't change the order, and so if as you added them, they would just pile on to the second screen, third screen, and everything. And so that'll be nice to be able to do that. Something they didn't talk about, but I don't know if it's coming up in like one of the developer sessions or something. But with the Vision Pro, you can put windows throughout the space that you're in, whether it's your house, apartment, office, a park, whatever it is. But the problem is when you turn off the device, those apps lose their place. And so when you reboot the device, everything's kind of back to default. So there's no persistence there. I did not see anything about that. I don't see it in this bento box thing we've got with all the stuff that they showed on screen there. So maybe that'll come up in something, but I didn't see it mentioned. That would be nice because, as you go through and you set those things up, and then if you have to reboot, it's a little bit of a pain to have to set them up again.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
That'll do it.
That's Vision OS. Look at us. We're almost as fast as Apple.
All right. Well, you got to be. There's a lot to talk about.
All right. Let's jump on to iOS 18. I'm going to say right out of the box, a couple of pretty important things to my mind that have showed up here, which we'll look at in a second. The biggest of which is some new options for home screen arrangement. So you can arrange apps and widgets anywhere. It still looks to me like it's in grid, so it's still going to be stuck in some kind of grid, but not left to right as it has been since the beginning of iOS time. You can have you have the ability to rearrange photos, say around rearrange icons, app icons around photos that you have. There's going to be a dark mode option, which I love.
Do you hear that, by the way? Do you hear the Android people laughing at us?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, finally.
It's a little like
welcome to however many years ago that they've had that, but at least we'll be getting
feeling the death of 1,000 people in the but yeah, no, right. And dark mode icons, color tinting for those icons as well. I really like the looks of those. I want to say and I'm kind of a 2D-ish guy. So there's some nice, very nice.
Yeah, should have another drink at dinner.
A drink and a CBD cocktail. So you talk to me about how those things are going. The Control Center now has some organization options on it as well, which looks pretty nice, and will have multiple pages.
How do you feel about that?
I want to touch it. That's one of those things that I want to see in real life.
Yeah,
I like the idea. I spend actually a lot of time in Control Center. That's typically how I load the camera, do a number of other things. That's how I access Shazam and things of that nature. But mostly it's for items that are kind of one-offs.
Yeah.
And so I'm not a lot in there, but we'll see. And, there are some music options there as well, or for the Apple Music. So we'll see how that works. Apple has something that they call a controls gallery, which is something new and different where you can add items that you have. And some of this also ties to lock screen customization as well.
Finally.
Yeah, right.
So that's nice.
Yeah, no, I do like that. So that's a pretty some pretty nice options. Again, I don't know how much I'll use it, but I may set it up once and leave it, which is typically the case.
Yep.
And then not be able to find like I do on my iPad. Where's that? The lock? How do I lock the rotation on my display? And it's always in there. I just forget where it is because I'm that dumb. So there's I like the idea of having customization on the lock screen, though, so we can do some different things there. One of the things that I really thought was kind of nice is an additional privacy option, which was lock an app. So you show people pictures and, don't want them to go snooping around to see what your text messages are or anything like that. You can lock something to a particular app so that people can only see what it is that you're showing to them. I like that a lot. Also limits contact information, which contacts an app can see. So there's a lot of new privacy. Yeah, I do too. Stick it to an email address as opposed to email address and phone number and whatever else is there. So some nice things there. So I like the privacy updates that take place there. Once an app is locked, if somebody tries to, go someplace else, it will use Face ID or Touch ID, presumably, to get past that and go back to where it needs to go. So pretty nice feature. Again, the functionality of that, how it's going to work, how easy it is to turn on when you're handing your phone over for somebody to look at a picture or a slideshow or whatever it is. That remains to be seen. I presume it'll be pretty easy, but
you think you'll use that a lot?
No, because I don't let anybody see my phone.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
I show pictures and, hand it off and stuff, but it's to people I know and trust. So I'm like, whatever.
Sure, you trust them, Tom.
But, I'm not. I could see there's a demographic that is more, I'll put it to you this way. When I was 25 or 30 and more involved socially, like I was out, because you go out and you're with people, oh, let me see that. And, sometimes it would be passed around to people you didn't really know. And I could see that there. And I'm pretty sure that's, a good use case for that. But I don't leave the house much. But
proven by the fact that you're in a closet right now.
I am. That's it's the quietest spot in the house.
So, yeah, I got you. And I'm in the basement.
Yeah. So there you go.
With
the glamorous
Jeffrey
life of podcasters. Messages got some updates.
Yeah. Talk about them.
Yes. So tapbacks, they've built that out a little bit more. So, of course, that's when you get a message come in. You can tap it. You can do a thumbs up, haha, exclamation points. Now you can slap some emojis on there because the world can just not get enough emojis.
Yeah.
Scheduled messages, which I thought was interesting. Curious to see if I'll ever use that. I don't want to say I won't because maybe, but I don't know. Usually I just send the message. It doesn't matter what time it is because most people have their notifications, disabled or whatever. So we'll see. Text formatting, that I did like.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. Of course, selecting that text is going to be aggravating as get out.
What are you talking about?
But yeah, text effects. They added some additional effects for the text messages themselves, which used to be I think currently if you hold down the arrow, it'll give you your options like with emphasis or balloons or hidden. I forget what they
There's a whole bunch of them. But those are very specific.
Yeah.
And this is actually, you can have text effect on a single word in a text message now, which, I might be inclined to use that.
Yeah.
Because those kinds of things, I don't use a lot of emoji, but
I'll do it just to aggravate people.
Right. I'll do something to piss you off.
Well, guaranteed, but that's okay. Something that I thought was pretty cool, messages via satellite.
Yes.
Which is nice if you're out and you need it. You want to message somebody. End-to-end encrypted, including the SMS, which is cool. And, of course, RCS support is coming as well. That's something people have been asking for some improved support when you're messaging the green bubble people. And the bubble colors are not going to change.
Well, unless you're in the UK or the European Union where they're complaining about the fact that they're not blue and therefore people look down their noses.
Yes, they should.
Well, right. We're starting our own little war, but why not?
UK's got more important things to worry about. They should focus on that.
I agree.
Yeah. All right, so messages looking pretty good. To round out iOS, because I know we don't want to go 2 hours, Mail gets categorization on device.
Yes.
So if you've used Gmail at all, it's got its categories across the top. It'll do social, promotional things, all those types of things. So it'll categorize those. What I thought was a nice touch that I have not seen in Gmail is the digest view. It looks very nice.
Yeah, I like that. Very great.
Yeah, looks good.
I'm going to throw in this one just because it's important to me. There's now new topographic maps, topological maps.
Thought about you when they said that.
Yeah, right. I almost said something to you as we were texting back and forth. So Trails. I currently use all Trails. I like it. It sucks on watch, and I've sent something to them about it. But being able to have trail maps, follow those trail maps, create your own customized trails, and offline support for same. So if for some reason, you're in some valley where the cell towers don't reach, you will have map access in those locations. So quite nice. I like that feature. Other things we can skip over, but we'll say quickly, there's some pretty nice updates to Wallet, the Journal app, Gaming's not something I do a ton of on iOS. Huge redesigns, though, to Photos.
Yes.
And they have made some changes to the organization, to the library, to the way that you can look at and set up what it is that you're doing. And this is kind of the subtleties of Apple doesn't refer to it as AI. Well, they do as Apple Intelligence, which we'll get into it a little more at the end of this. But one of the things that I noticed in a lot of these new OS rollouts are things that indicate that there's a lot more intelligence, some more thought put into what's being done here. So you can, say that you put in a search for hike I went on with Tom on Tuesday last year or something like that. And it will find photos with Tom in them. Tuesday, God knows what month it was in since I didn't specify that. But last year, and every time that we hiked on a Tuesday, you could have photos from that. So it's got the ability to be much more granular, I think, than it has been in the past, and a little more intelligent in that way. We'll remember trips. You can have people groups. So some pretty nice features, I think.
I think so. Thought it looked pretty good. They've got collections kind of built in. You get your recent days, which is nice memories, people and pets, and so forth. People groups is good. You can kind of throw the family in there, which tends to surface those anyway. And then trips is a new thing they have.
Yeah.
So that'll be good. And then there is a carousel, which is new. And that would show your favorites, featured photos that the app itself will surface. So that's more of that machine learning, which is funny. You and I commented going back and forth in the messages there that, there was AI stuff sprinkled all over these, different sections before they even got to the kind of the primary AI section where they actually use that term. Machine learning, they stayed with that script, which they've been using for years now. And you can add custom items to the carousel too, that updates regularly as you add more pictures. And it, does its indexing and all the stuff that it does. And then they mentioned really quickly, reminders integration in calendar is coming too. So
yeah. Nice feature. I will say one of the things kind of interesting, and I said this to you before we started recording, is, we played a 30-second blip of it in the last episode of the Google event where it was AI. It was one thing after another. There was no direct mention of that until we got to Apple Intelligence. It indicated in some of the features that are showing up in these iOS apps, or the various things that they're doing to the heart of these applications. That you go, oh, that must be this in your own head, as opposed to somebody telling you, guess what? We can do this. By the way, also some features that you may have seen in like with the Google Pixel, where you can very easily wipe out people, that are in photobombing your photos. You can get rid of them pretty easily. So some nice features built in there, and it looks like it's going to be pretty useful, pretty good. So that was nice to see.
Yep. Okay. Next section, home and audio.
Yes.
So AirPods got some gestures.
Yeah. And so gestures being, if you're getting a phone call and you don't want to be talking, like oftentimes when I'm on a train or a plane, or, well, better not be having my phone on the plane, I guess. But I don't want to answer the phone, and I don't want to have to say, don't answer that, or whatever it is. You can shake your head yes or no. And the AirPods Pro, I think, is the key here. I don't think it was just straight up AirPods. AirPods Pro will recognize your gesture, the fact that you've either nodded your head or shaken your head left and right now, and it will perform whatever it is that you're asking for, which I like that.
Yep.
Also some voice isolation features. So if you're making a phone call and there is noise all around you, these AirPods Pro will now be able to block out any of that background sound and focus in on your voice, which is pretty slick. And then Apple is opening up some APIs for gamers for these things as well.
Indeed. And so for Apple TV, They spent a couple of minutes talking about that. One of the things they've added is a new feature called Insights. So if you're watching something and you're like, hey, I know that guy. What else have they been in? And you can swipe down on the remote and it'll show you the actors, characters, and identify any music playing in the scene as well. Also works if you're using the iPhone remote app. I guess it's not really an app now. It's in Control Center.
Yes.
It has been for a while. Enhanced dialogue there to bring the speaking parts up a little bit. 21.9 projector support, which 21.9 projectors are becoming a thing more and more. So that's been added for that. Screensavers, which have always been, well, I won't say always, but especially in the last 8-10 years, it seems, been delightful on Apple TV. Of course, they brought those to Mac last year, which is one of the big features that they had for Sonoma. They've added some more capabilities for those. You can use your own portraits as a screensaver TV and movies. They've got some for that too. Snoopy they're bringing in, which honestly I kind of perked up on that one because even though I don't use it a whole lot, the watch face with Snoopy is still very delightful.
Yes,
so
I agree.
I always like that one. And they didn't show this, but they mentioned it. There's a redesigned Apple Fitness Plus.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what that looks like. That's a wintertime thing for me. I typically use Apple Fitness Plus when it's dark outside and I don't want to go anywhere. But yeah, that some nice things. I like that. And that feature, that Insight feature, if you've used Amazon Prime, it's the same idea as that. Although what I really do like is that the music piece it becomes available. I often catch myself hearing some song, in some show in Apple TV Plus, and wanting to know what it is, and you can quickly add it either from, and this was a nice option. You could either add it using the remote from the Apple TV screen, or if you are using the app, using that interface, it gives you the option to not bring any of that up on the screen. You can look at it on your phone and add it there. So nice. I like that.
Yep,
nice feature.
All right, on to watchOS.
Yes, sir. Talk to me. This is something you loved.
Okay, so they have added a couple of new applications and features. So Training Load is one, and the Vitals app is another. So Training Load is one that I use a third-party app for now called Athletic. It's $30 a year, so it's not a lot of money. But and so it basically looks at your training history and then the health data, some of the health data that's captured by the watch. So heart rate variability, your sleep, those types of things. Mm-hmm. And I've used that for a couple of years now at this point. And is it super accurate? Like, if it says, like right now, it says my recovery is 47%. I don't know. Some days you can really feel it. And there has been times where it's been like super low. And I can tell like I've, just been a little off, like maybe it's under the weather a little bit. But so they've built this in, and they've also added a Vitals app. And this kind of goes back to our wish list show from last year where I was like hoping they'd, make some of that data that they're collecting more useful. And so this is what it will do is it'll show your trends. So your heart rate and sleep and overnight vitals and all of that, it will measure them. And then as they kind of drift out of range, perhaps it'll let you know what's going on with that. And the Athletic app does some of that too. So I feel kind of bad for third-party developers as Apple continues to march into some of these spaces because they've been doing that stuff for a long time. And it's a balance there that Apple has to do. But it is nice to see it first party because I think it'll just get more people aware of it and using it.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, so looking forward to those. They added some new views for pregnancy. So if you're pregnant, you can track your stats along with that. What else we got?
Got some smart stacks that are aware. So smarter smart stacks, I guess is what we're going to say. You can add, it will add widgets as it sees fit. For example, if there's a change in the weather, you might see a new weather widget appear, which is kind of nice. Live activities, check-ins added for workouts. I don't know exactly what that means. You can maybe clue me in since you do more.
So the kind of the example they gave on that is in the workouts app. So if they said if you're on an outdoor run and maybe it's later in the evening or something, and there's a little, just like for the check-in on the phone, there's a little button there so you could check in, let people know you made it home.
Say I'm alive.
Right. Yeah.
Good. Fair.
Yeah. So I'll do that with you.
Great. As you fall asleep opposite me, the podcast, tap it and go, nope, I'm alive. I'm alive.
Still good. Live activities was nice addition to the stacks. That was good.
Yeah, like that. A couple of other things that I thought were great. Again, I mentioned this for iOS, but they're now turn-by-turn directions for hiking on the Watch app, which will be a good thing for me. Some other options for photo face that are allowing you to have kind of little slicker options when it comes to photos. And it's some work being done behind the scenes where, I can't remember if it was iOS or watchOS. I presume it's iOS. Will go through your photos and make suggestions as to which photos in your photo library make sense for the best photo faces. So that's very nice feature like that. And then some other ticketing options related to, either going to a party or a show or stepping on an airplane. So a couple of nice things in there as well. And I didn't hear this mentioned, but I'm seeing on here that there's Translate. So the translation ability that iOS has is now coming to the Watch as well. So that could be a nice feature.
Yes, and interactive widgets, which will be nice.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
Anything else watchy that you want to say?
Well, we didn't get third-party watch faces, which was on my list.
Mm-hmm.
But,
been on your list for a minute.
Unexpected, but is what it is. Okay, on to iPadOS.
Okay, a couple of biggies. Let's not bury the lead, because a lot of this stuff that's in here was already in what we talked about in iOS. So,
yes.
Customization of the home screen and things of that nature. The big thing, calculator.
Yes.
All right. So cool. Got a calculator like that, except for Apple kind of pulled back the curtain on something I think is really pretty slick. Available in the calculator app, but more importantly, also available if you use this or decide to use this in the Notes app. It will let you do math notes, is what they're calling it, with your Apple Pencil. So if you scribble out an equation and put an equals after it, it will actually run the numbers on that particular equation. So anything that you can do in the scientific calculator on the, with the keypad, you can also do by drawing out an equation in the math notes feature. As I said, you can also do this in Notes. It will create graphs. It really, to see it the way it worked, people have been talking a long time about the ability to use a calculator. I use pCalc on my iPad when I need a calculator, which is only intermittently. The way this works is a little bit of genius, I think. I don't know that I've seen anything like it. And it is live and interactive. So if you change an equation that you've put an equal sign on, say, you have some kind of quadratic equation. Maybe I shouldn't have had. I should not have had something with CBD in it.
Here's the show title.
All right. Quadratic equation. And then you put a line underneath it, and then put a 2. It will divide whatever it is the total is on the top by 2, and put that in the equals column. Another thing, if you have a list of numbers going down and you put a line under it, it will automatically calculate the total of the lines. Really, Apple does things often, in some cases so often that I think we just get dulled to it, that are magical almost, and this to me is magical.
This is awesome. I'll never use it, but it's awesome. Right. Like I may use, let me walk that back a little bit. Like in the Notes app, I might, rough out something, be like, okay, this time, blah, blah. But heavy use of math notes is not for me, but if I were a student, oh my gosh.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, like my son's starting college in the fall. He's like, dude, that looks great. Like, yeah. So he's
truly
pumped up
amazing
about
feature.
that.
So I'm interested to try it out. I don't do a lot of math either. I'm not going to have a lot of occasion to use it, but the fact that that this is there and available, you go back to the days of Newton and everybody getting, torqued at Apple trying to do handwriting recognition, and to think that these days, Doonesbury, I'm looking at you. If you remember the Doonesbury comics from back in the day, but the capabilities built into this are amazing. So good on Apple for waiting to add a calculator to the iPad for something that truly looks delightful.
Mm-hmm.
Delightful.
Yep, it definitely does. Let's see. So what else did they do? They have added a floating tab bar.
Yes.
Not a floating tab at the bar, just a floating tab bar.
Which is what I had earlier.
Right, which is explaining some things.
Yeah, that's why I can't get 3 sentences out correct.
So the tab bar is going to kind of hang out around the top of the screen, which will free up the content of the screen to go edge to edge on a more regular basis. But if you need the sidebar, you would tap up on the floating sidebar, and then the sidebar would kind of whip into the left-hand side there like it does today, but it's just kind of permanently there. So that looks pretty interesting. I think they keep creeping closer and closer to kind of like file menus and stuff in iPadOS. Maybe in another 5 years they'll have it. But I do think that looks pretty good. Back on the pencil side of things real quick, they added Smart Script in Notes so that it will use, again, they don't call it AI, they call it machine learning, to improve handwriting in real time. And we commented, boy, this is a feature for us because we have terrible handwriting. And if it can fix ours and make it more legible, I think they're really onto something because my writing is not very good at all.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing about that is, like right now, if you write, if you use Apple Pencil to write in notes or something like that, what it does is it will convert your written text to typed text. This actually does a cleaned up approximation of your own writing, which is pretty slick. So a readable version, in my case, of my writing is what you get from this. So it really looks like an amazing feature. And again, as you said, machine learning shows up here, which is Apple's vernacular and has been for quite some time for what everybody now calls artificial intelligence.
Yes. And they added some gestures there for manipulating that text where you can just kind of scribble over it and it'll erase it. Mm-hmm. That's been in some third-party apps for a while, but it'll be nice to have in Notes. Let's see. Collapsible sections they added to Notes while we're talking about Notes.
Yeah, nice.
I like that. I use that in Bear a good bit, used it in Craft a lot in certain circumstances. So that will be nice to have as well as they continue to improve Notes. They really have done a lot of work with Notes. So
yeah, Notes is great. I mean, it has its limitations, but it's definitely
free. It's hard to beat.
Correct.
Yeah,
free is always hard.
They added screen sharing in SharePlay, which is nice when you need to do that. Something I thought was kind of cool with that is you could use the pencil and illustrate.
Yeah.
Touch up there. You could just draw an arrow to it. I'm like, man, that's pretty good.
So when you're helping mom or dad or
whoever it is,
right? Cousin Tilly or your grandma or Tom, in my case, you have the ability to share their iPad screen now, which is nice. And when you're sharing their iPad screen, have the ability, as you said, highlight and or take control, which presently, they didn't say anything about this in iOS, but I presume it would be there too. Right now, it's one-way screen sharing. You can see what people are doing. You still have to walk them through it without being able to control it. You can't control those remote devices, but that's new here, and I like it.
Okay. So next, on to new macOS, which they have dubbed
Sequoia.
Yeah, I like that. It's nice.
I do too.
Yeah, good name.
Yeah, really is a good name.
So they're going to bring along a bunch of those iOS and iPadOS features for Maps, messages, and so forth into it. So text effects, stuff like that. All that coming in, scenes in freeform, collections in photos, and send later, all those good things. Math notes, you can actually type them in and they'll do it. So that'll work with typed text as well. They announced iPhone mirroring, which looks really slick.
Amazing. So what does that mean, Tom? What is iPhone mirroring? So
iPhone mirroring is going to be built on their continuity frameworks that they've had for several years now. And so what you can do is when you bring your iPhone near to your Mac, you can show your iPhone's display on your Mac. And you say, why would you ever want to do that? And it's a fair question. One use case comes to mind heavily is for people that do training videos, YouTube videos, those kinds of things, right? Because you bring the iPhone up, but it's not just a mirror. It's actually, you can use it. So like when you have it up there, you can swipe through your different home pages, home screens. You can open apps. The iPhone stays locked when you're in a mirroring session, so there's a little bit of privacy there. Audio, if you're playing something, will play through the Mac, which is pretty nice. And again, going back to that continuity side of things, you can drag content from your Mac into an app you're running on the phone.
Yes.
Which is pretty slick. I mean, that looks really cool. I'm trying to think, is it something I'd use a lot? I don't know, maybe.
I can say that there are many cases where I keep my phone. I would prefer to keep my phone sitting on my charger on my desk. And, if I'm sitting out in the backyard doing something. But I would like to have access to some things on my phone. That would be...
Wonder what the range of that will be.
I think it's Wi-Fi, like continuity is presently. Don't you think?
Could be. I'm trying to think. Like, it seems like some of it is, but some of it has to be closer, I think. I don't know. We'll have to look at it. We'll come back
I guess
to
we'll just have to play with it.
We'll just have to play with it and see what happens. You can get iOS notifications on your Mac too. In case you don't get enough notifications on your Mac from macOS, you can get iOS notifications too. But if you got that screen, that iPhone mirroring thing on, and you get a notification, or even if you don't have it on, if you hit the iPhone notification, it'll do that iPhone mirroring. It'll just kind of bring it up there on the Mac. So you can tend to whatever you need to tend to. So I thought that was pretty good. Back in our highlight show a couple of weeks ago, Riley asked for some better window management, and he got it.
Look at that.
Yeah, got Riley. Kind of the snap. And so you can just drag a window to a certain location. It'll drop into place there. It does have keyboard support for that, which is nice. So that's, we'll see how flexible it is. Right, they showed it top, bottom, left, right, and then quarters. Kind of each upper right, upper left, so forth.
And there was some intelligence built into that as well.
Yes.
So it would recommend or suggest that. So that's a nice feature. I'm going to do a little dance. Hold on a second. Okay, I'm done. We have now got a standalone passwords.
Yes, we do.
And man, am I happy about that. That's such a nice feature. I've been using Apple's built-in keychain passwords tool for a while now. I dropped one password other than keeping a local copy for some things that, I haven't taken the time to transfer over for quite some time. Now that it is in a standalone application, I feel much more comfortable recommending it to people to use. Yes. I mean, I have always recommended that they, use the passwords that can automatically be generated, but trying to find some old one was always a pain in the neck because you had to go into system settings and you had to find passwords and you had to open it up.
That's why I didn't move over. Yeah, that's why I didn't move from
because you didn't want to hassle with that.
But now with this, I'm planning to move.
It makes sense. And I know there was a question that we had about whether or not maybe it wasn't actually somebody asked Riley on Threads about this, whether or not it would import any passwords from those other systems, like such as 1Password or LastPass. No indication of that. It would be a nice feature if that happened. I'm not counting on it, but that would be great. But I'm really, really happy for a passwords app, and anybody I know I'm pushing that direction. Apple's done a brilliant job of that in the last couple of years. Back in the old days, the keychain was the bane of everybody's existence. It was absolute pain in the neck. Apple has made it so nobody even knows what keychain is anymore.
Yep, and that's a good thing. It's got shared passwords, really. So that was a big one too, because we do have some that we share with the 1Password family plan and stuff.
Which you already have the ability to share passwords in the existing system in Apple Passwords already. You can do that. So
was it? You would invite somebody to it, or how would you share it?
You can share a subset of passwords to people that are in your family.
But would it just send it to them and then it shows up in their keychain, or?
Ask me if I've used it.
Okay,
I just know
great.
It's there.
All right. Okay. Well, because I kind of see shared passwords in this kind of like being shared notes. Right? You just add them to a shared section and everybody's got it. And it's nice and easy. So, so that all looks good. I do plan to move to that. A couple little things. And again, they didn't call this AI, but that's exactly what it is. Reader mode in Safari as a summary. And then they've got some video player enhancements, some gaming stuff. They keep pushing this. They keep trying to push it forward. The game porting toolkit goes up to version 2, looking to bring some more games to the Mac. And they were saying with this, you could bring the advanced games to Mac, iPhone, and iPad, which is interesting. So we'll see how that goes. I'm not a gamer, so I'm not really qualified to comment on any of that. I know people still kind of scoff, then say, PC is really the gaming platform, and I think that's true. But Apple hasn't given up on it, and they keep pushing it. And it feels like at some point, you think that would tip and they would become more of a gaming platform, but we'll see. So all of that stuff we've just talked about, public betas coming up next month. Developers got their hands on it today. If you have a developer account or are so inclined, you could sign up for a developer account and you could have access to it. Fall release for all of these, usually right around the time the new iPhones come out in September.
Yep.
All right.
Just a general reminder, you probably, if you're going to do a beta, wait until version 4, 5, somewhere in there.
Yeah, wait till the public betas at least.
Unless you have a phone that you can just goof around with.
Right. Okay, so we are 47 minutes in.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. So let's keep moving.
Yep. We'll see if we can knock this out before an hour. Sorry, folks.
Yeah, and we're going to be talking about all of this stuff more over the summer. This is just recap real quick of what went on today so you can avoid looking up all that stuff yourself, because I had somebody text me today, hey, are you guys doing a recap show? I was like, we are. Yep. She goes, all right, good. I won't look at anything. I'll just wait for that. So
see,
that's what we're here for. So the big marquee announcement today, everyone had been waiting to see what Apple was going to do with AI, I guess. And so now we have it. AI is Apple Intelligence.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. So Mark Gurman broke that the other day. He is the king of leaks and all of this information. Jeff and I were commenting before we started. It's like he's sitting at the marketing table and he just brings that stuff right out to his Bloomberg newsletter, Power On, which you're not subscribed to that.
The only thing Bloomberg gets right.
Yeah. So real quick, before we get into the meat of it, the list of compatible devices is as such. If you're on a Mac, anything with M1 or later. If you're on iPad Air or iPad Pro, anything with M1 or later. If you're on an iPhone, iPhone 15 Pro or 15 Pro Max, and that's it for iPhones.
Yes.
So I'll be upgrading in the fall, so I'm not too concerned about that. On my usual every 2-year cadence, so that'll work out okay. So when Tim Cook came on, after they did all the OS stuff, let's kick it back to Tim. And he comes back and he starts talking about this. He said when they were looking at this, that their kind of take on this was that it would have to be powerful, intuitive, integrated, personal, and private. And I think those last 2, 3 probably, integrated, personal, and private, really kind of separated from the other stuff, and we'll get into that, like ChatGPT and Gemini and all that stuff. All of this stuff is as we know now, is for macOS, iOS, and iPadOS. No mention of Vision OS or watchOS. So, you have been not the biggest proponent of AI stuff.
I have been playing around with it more for some things, just because I feel like I need to know what I'm looking at, talking about, being with. But as you well know, I don't like the fact that most of this stuff is something that if I said badly, you'd have to say Gesundheit. BS. And when I say BS, I feel like AI for the most part is data stealing and using that data and putting it in places that, that the people who created it don't get any credit for. What I feel like with what we saw today with Apple Intelligence, and I've kind of made mention of this as we've gone through the various changes to iOS, there are actually things that are useful that are built into what it is that you're currently doing and taking information that you currently have, that you've developed. So it's taking the things that you're working with, whether it be your photographs, or it's, looking at text that you've written and finding different ways to enhance that. I trust Apple, whether I should or not, to keep my data mine. They're not selling it. In fact, one of the things that that was mentioned was the fact that there is going to be a link to Chat GPT if you need that. And you can go out, whether it's a free plan or a paid plan, and link to that. But none, and I don't know how they do this, none of your data, none of the information that you're sending out to get that information back from Chat GPT, none of that data gets to stay with Chat GPT. It's all local to you. I love that it's all on device processing. That maybe explains why, the current iPhones, the iPhone 15, 15 Pro, the old 15 Pro, 15 Pro Max, not 15. It must have the architecture built into it that allows for that kind of high level large language model computing that you need.
Yeah. And I think this is where Apple being stingy on RAM on the iPhones is kind of catching some people in a pinch, because I think the 15 Pro and Pro Max have 8 gigs or more. I think it's at least 8, and I can't remember if Pro Max has more or not. I think that's the iPad Pros that have more, depending on which model you get. And so I think that's why it's so restricted. And people have complained about their stinginess with the RAM on the iPhones for a while.
On everything.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
pretty much.
Yeah,
and
we
mentioned that the other day, Threads conversation, 8 gigs of RAM is going to be enough for your MacBook. It's like, well, yeah, I guess.
Know what you're doing.
But I think with this stuff, more is better. So they talked about kind of the capabilities, right? So it's language, images, action, and then one they've mentioned very frequently, which is personal context, which is really kind of like the special sauce, I think, for some of that stuff. And we're going to just walk through the kind of the things they talked about real quick. And like I said, all of this needs way more, looking into and everything like that. But one of the first things they dug into was Siri.
Yes. An
Siri
updated
may
version
not be
of Siri,
stupid much longer.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, dude. Man, they got a lot at stake with that, because it's like, man, Siri is bad now. And if this works, it's great. If it doesn't, man, then it's not going to be a good look.
Nope, I agree. So, and speaking of good looks, Siri has a new look, which I like a lot, rather than the little disc that appears currently at the bottom of your screen when you invoke Siri. What you're going to get is around the border, the same kind of little rainbowy cloud, but it'll light up when you're speaking to it. So when you say Siri or Hey Siri, and then do such and such, it will let you know by basically lighting up the borders of your screen. So you'll see that Siri is waiting for input in that way. It's supposed to be more natural language, so you don't have to speak in some robo-speak that makes it so Siri works better. One of the things that I loved, and I hope it really works, is maintains conversational context.
Yes.
Siri, if for a long time has been incapable, still presently is incapable of having you give two instructions, one followed by another. You had to reformat your question in such a way that it could do two things at once. Now you can ask it a question and it will hold that context, and you can ask a related question, like start with, how do I get directions to Tom's house? And you get those directions, and what time do I need to leave to get there by 5 p.m.? Could be a follow-up question.
Mm-hmm.
And you will get information based on that initial question. So it holds on to that, which is brilliant. That's a feature that's long been needed. A couple of other things, type to Siri kind of has been the case anyway. You could have, I don't on my Macs, but you can have a Siri icon up on your computer, up on your menu bar that you click and you can type a question to, and it'll work. That sometimes is okay. One of the nice things is it has an extensive amount of product knowledge and knowledge base information. So things that you typically would go to Google or DuckDuckGo or one of those places for, like, how do I don't know, use the stopwatch on my phone. You can ask Siri that, and it will bring you the step-by-step information on how to do that. So some nice features and information that's built off of Apple's already extensive base of information.
Yeah. And some of that they showed, I commented to you, it'd be nice if it just said, would you like me to do that for you? And, it's like, and maybe it will. And this is all early. They're leaning into app intents to kind of extend the functionality across the applications. Third-party app support will be there for that as well. Personal context, again, they mentioned throughout the presentation on this, and it's where they can find something without knowing where it is, or you can find something without knowing where it is. So, like, show me that picture Jeff sent me Tuesday or last week or something like that, and it will be able to dig into that and hopefully surface it. It may surface a couple, I don't know. And something interesting they showed was being able to pull data from an image and add it to a form. I think they did. It was like an ID photo or something like that. Mm-hmm. It was able to pull an ID number,
driver's
drop
license,
it right into the form. So that was pretty cool. So we'll see. Then they went into the writing tools for this, and a lot of this is familiar if you've used Grammarly or ChatGPT. Either their AI stuff. A lot of applications, of course, have plugged ChatGPT into their applications. So, it can draft replies, it can do summaries. But what I really liked about the whole thing that they got in once they got into this is that it's going to be system wide, and third-party apps can take advantage of it, because up to this point, it was up to the application developers. So Craft could add their own, Agenda could add their own, Grammarly's got their thing going on. So forth and so on. But it'll be nice that will be there. It'll be up to the applications to decide if they want to do that or not. Some of them use those AI features as a way to squeeze another couple bucks out of their subscribers a month, which I get it. People want to pay for it. Why not? But the smart reply in Mail looks pretty good.
Yes.
Where it's able to look at the email, and the example they used is somebody invited you to dinner, and then you reply, it's like, will your partner be joining? Yes. Will you be driving or taking an Uber? And you choose it, and it just kind of creates the message and puts it in. So nice. I like that. What else do they have?
Some of the other features that are tied into this, new focus mode, that it reduces the number of interruptions that you're getting, but can surface, as you said, interruptions that may be important, like, you're getting a call from mom or your spouse or your significant other, when you don't want to be bothered by anybody else, that one can pop up. So there's going to be some intelligence built into that. There is a new feature that may be kind of fun. How much I'll use it, I don't know, but there's something Apple's calling an image playground, where you can feed Apple Intelligence certain ideas. I want a cat standing on a pyramid with laser eyes or something like that. And it will create a multitude of images, a multiple, I should say, not a multitude, that you can then select from. So you can add your own categories, use personal information. You can add these or use these in Messages, Keynote Pages, the freeform app. And there will also be, just so you can learn how to use it, a dedicated image playground app that lets you create those. And we're not talking, stupid looking graphics from what we saw in the demo. Pretty high quality. Again, Benjamin Young Savage, don't yell at us, but it may make it so it's puts some graphic designers out of business because people will be able to do that on their own. So that's where my ambivalence still lives with these kinds of things. But yeah,
yep. Let's see, Genmoji. Generative emoji, right? So if you want to do a custom emoji, you can make that using prompts and it'll make it to your heart's content. So have at it. We cannot get enough emojis. We've got Memojis, emojis, and Genmojis.
Yep.
Pick one.
In the Notes app, record and transcribe audio plus some summaries. And that's also coming to iPhone. That's a nice feature. In fact, I wouldn't have had to take any notes today if I opened up Notes and let the Keynote feed into it.
Mm-hmm.
Some other, and I think we mentioned this a little earlier, in the Photos app, there's going to be a cleanup tool, some natural language search for that, video search for specific scenes in videos, and then you can create a memory movie, which is kind of...
Yeah, and some of the demo stuff they did around Photos was very similar to what Google showed at their conference there with the AI stuff last month. So all that looks good. I like the ability to make your own memory movies with prompts is nice. That'll be, I don't know, I think the memories are one of the best things in Photos anyway. I look at those a lot as they come up. Got the widget on the home screen. But let's see, what else do we want to touch on there?
I think the important thing also is that Apple Intelligence is free, so it doesn't cost anything, no extra, no add-ons, no...
Free for now.
Free for now.
Apple Intelligence Plus coming next year, WWDC. Get that Apple One bundle up over $40.
It's already at $40. What are you talking about?
Well, 38, but
okay, whatever.
Yeah,
round up.
Somebody didn't touch on email summaries, elevating priority messages.
Yes,
it will be there too. I've been using that in Google because we use Google at the office, and we enable some of the new Gemini stuff that's come out, and it's actually pretty good. Like I had a email thread. We were working with an AV vendor on something, and I don't know, geez, there's probably 30 messages in there. So I had show me the summary because it was just a test because I knew what was in the messages. Because already thread's been going on for days, and it did a really nice job. Like I was surprised. Honestly, but it hit all the key points, didn't really leave out anything, got the names right, who was doing what was said. So that was impressive, and I suspect the Apple one will be very similar to that. So that was good. Now, they have added to extend Siri functionality, the ability to use ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only one so far. They say more are coming, probably Gemini would be the next one, I would guess. What I like what they've done with that is they do prompt you. So if you ask something and Siri doesn't really know, I think they use like a recipe or something like that. What they did, they were like, would you like to use ChatGPT? So it's kind of an opt-in on each one of those prompts or questions that you ask Siri. I did like that it was opt-in. And honestly, I kind of like that it's there because it does extend the functionality. And you can do it for free without creating an account with ChatGPT. If you have a paid ChatGPT account, which I do, I'm not sure for how much longer, but I do, you can't connect that if you want to do that as well. And I'm not sure, I can't remember what they said and would have to look. I don't know, like if you connect your account, if those queries that you're running through Siri, through ChatGPT actually show up in like your chat history. Like if you go to log in at the ChatGPT website, I don't know if those would show up there or not. But
Yeah, according what I understood, and I don't know whether with a paid account that would be the case, but it didn't sound like that information was going across. But that might be something you'd like if you had a paid ChatGPT.
Right. Yeah, because you can go to ChatGPT now and use for free without even having an account.
Right.
Which is probably what they're tying into.
What they're doing.
Right. Something they talked about with all of this is this concept of the private cloud compute.
Yes.
Which was interesting. So this is something that they are building themselves with Apple Silicon and using a lot of the same things that they use with iPhone. So secure enclave, secure secure boot.
Was drinking?
It's getting late. I'm old. I got to go to bed. And so that they published an article on their security research site that I just saw right before we went on. Go take a look at that. It's interesting. They talk about it a little bit. I'm sure there's going to be a ton more that they publish and talk about in the developer sessions and everything. Mm-hmm. But so they're going to set this up, and they wanted to set it up in a way that when you do your Apple Intelligence things, where it has to go off device to the private cloud compute that they've got set up, they don't want to retain any of it. Right. Like no trace of it. Like they don't want it to show up in logging, no place at all. And they're going to have it open for third parties to check it and make sure that, what they say they do, they're actually doing. So commend them for that. So,
remains one of my favorite Apple things is that they do, I think they slip up from time to time, but they do still take our privacy and our personal information to be our own, not theirs to glean from. So I'm grateful for that.
All right. Hour 6 done.
Yeah. Cool. Not hour number 6.
No.
God. Just a reminder that
we can keep going if you want. You want to go a couple more hours. I'm in for it.
Dude, I think we've
CPD
more
is
than
you're like, I gotta go.
more than worn out our welcome here. And we promise we'll get back to like a 35 minute episode length.
We will.
After this, we swear. Just a reminder, again, basicafshow.com. You can subscribe, do whatever it is you need to do on the various platforms. Follow on Apple Podcasts. Tom has a newsletter, tomfanderson.com/newsletter. That's pretty easy. And then we have Randall Martin Design to thank for our gloriously amazing show art and Psychokinetics for show music. And we're grateful to them always. And Tom, let's get the heck out of here.
Let's get out of here. Don't forget, all of these topics we'll be digging into more over the summer with the betas. And then in particular, once we get to the fall, we actually get the released versions. All of the Apple Intelligence stuff is coming out this fall in beta mode. So it's going to be a little iffy for a while. But anyway, that's enough for now. Thank you so much for being here. We do appreciate it. And until next time, have a great rest of your day, rest of your night.
See you.